Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It, and it's a little weird one here with Disney Plus. I'm going to give you my thoughts on their new film Onward, which before everyone was told to stay at home, did actually have the theatrical release. However, it was in that week where some people were already starting to stay at home, some people weren't, so it didn't really get the legs that it kind of probably should have, especially for a Pixar film, in the theaters. So they released it on VOD for a couple of weeks before actually putting it available to everybody on Disney Plus. So it's a little bit of a different way of getting this film out, but I finally got the chance to look at it on Disney Plus, and I'll give you my thoughts right after the jump. Real quick, if you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Now let's go ahead and dive into what Pixar is offering us with Onward. So Onward's interesting in that when the trailers and everything started to come out for this, I just didn't care. This gave me the feeling of Pixar via The Good Dinosaur, which is still a good movie, but like it's not Pixar quality, and just, the trailers just didn't do anything for me. Probably maybe because I am African American, I cared more about Soul than I did about this film. I just didn't know what I was getting with this, and then because of the state of the country and everyone being forced to stay at home, I just didn't hear or hear people going to see it, and it wasn't on my radar. I didn't care. Part of it is I also don't I also don't have a kid, so there's no reason for me to drive there unless the Pixar story. But usually I've seen all other Pixar films without a kid either, so that doesn't really hold much weight. And so I went into this like, all right, cool. I know it's here now, so let me finally get a chance to look at Onward. And I'm gonna give you my likes and dislikes. So my likes, um, it feels like a Pixar film, and I say that to mean that the good ones, not like the Cars or Cars 2, but Pixar is a studio that is known for doing animation for kids and adults that hit in different ways. The kids will find enough to like, haha, laugh. There's some cute humor here, but the adults are going to get punched in the gut, and there's an emotional reaction that all Pixar films have, and I think the third act of this film definitely stays on par with all of Pixar. Then the entire film does, but that third act hits like a ton of bricks. I think anyone who has actually ever suffered loss in their life, by be it either parent or even just someone else, um, will find that this film is difficult to get through. Not as hard as Coco, because I think Coco handles everything better because there's just more. There's a real life tangibility to heritage in that film, whereas this one's using uh, the tropes of magic and like a Dungeons and Dragons style of things, and fantasy to kind of get their story apart. So it's a little less realistic and tangible, but the thread line or the heartbeat of what of a kid dealing with not knowing a parent or a loved one is felt, and it hits hard. It's a person who has lost their mother at a young age. I 100% related to this, and it definitely made my eyes water up a little bit towards the tail end. There's also a huge connection between an older brother and a younger brother that is very apparent in this film, which I also I fall in line with. So it's a movie that has a lot of threads that none of the commercials or trailers led me to believe was a part of it. The trailers made it seem sort of like it would be a Weekend at Bernie's type of thing with fantasy, and to know that that was this much heart in the film was sad that they didn't get that across in the marketing. But I'm glad that I actually took the time to watch it. It's Tom Holland plays a younger brother, and Chris Pratt plays the older brother. And truthfully, probably along the lines of Wally or Up, those are about the only two voices that really take shape of the entire film. The rest of the film is, I mean, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the mother, but the mom doesn't really play that big of a part of this film. Octavia Spencer is in here as another character. Wilmer Valderrama just shows up randomly for a little bit. You hear a couple of other recognizable voices. I won't quite ruin those, but it's basically the Pratt and Holland show, and the two brothers are what the through line is. So if you have any type of relationship with brothers, or you have any type of loss, I think this is a film that you should see. However, we'll say if the loss is recent or within a point where it still is an open wound, you may want to take a moment and not watch this or Coco for that matter, or any Pixar film, but specifically this one until you kind of get that healing process done first. I like the concept of the fantasy. I know there are some people that if you're not into Dungeons and Dragons or Magics or Magic the Gathering type of stuff, a lot of this story is familiar, but that gives you an entryway. I think if you are reticent to liking magic and liking all that stuff, this may not be the entryway for you. You may want to get your story of familial and family and loss and love via another vehicle. My dislikes. This isn't really a dislike. It's more of a, when you're thinking of the level of Pixar films, there are certain things that Toy Story and Toy Story 4 and Monsters Inc. and Coco are up here at the top. And all the way at the bottom is stuff like The Good Dinosaur or Cars 1 and Cars 2. And then somewhere in the middle, you have movies like Monsters University, which are still really good films, but they're not on the level of the creme de la creme of the Inside Outs and all of that stuff. This film, probably because it's also done by the same director of Monsters University, fits somewhere in the middle. It's not the bottom film and it's not at the top. It's very enjoyable, but it's also the heart, the beats are there. The story is there. It's funny, it's charming, it's enjoyable, and it's heartfelt, but not nearly on the level that a lot of Pixar's other properties are. And so versus like something like probably like Trolls, yes, this is leaps and bounds above that. But in comparison to the catalog that they already have at Pixar, it leaves a little bit to be desired. I also don't know if this is a film that, whereas Brave is specifically female and young girl centric and heavy, and boys don't tend to want to watch that one as much. I think because you have two boy characters or male characters in this isn't going to be very strong for young girls, which is fine. They have Frozen going right now, Frozen 2. So they don't need to have everything. But just know that if you have a young girl, this movie may not be as strong for them as it would be for young boys. And lastly, this is just the thing that is a note for me with Pixar films, and it doesn't happen all the time, but Toy Story had some, Monsters Inc. has them. Even when you're not a musical, you should at least have some type of chord, song, or thematic musical score that carries you through the film that is like, all right, that's the song. Coco cheats because he's playing a guitar and can use musicals, but You Got a Friend in Me is a Toy Story like classic. There are certain things that if you just want your story to kind of go up another couple of levels, music is the cheat code for all of that. But I say that to say that I'm nitpicking at this point in time. It's still a really good, fun, easy breezy Pixar flick that I think more people would have enjoyed had the access to theaters still existed. But we're in a world now where they're testing stuff. They're testing VODs. They're testing streaming. They're testing what is the best way to get people content while, I mean, this thing keeps pushing. This virus continues to go longer, so there could be a possibility where theaters aren't actually actively open until post-summer. And then it's going to be a slow trickle for people to feel comfortable enough to get into the theaters. So now they're testing out different ways to give people their content. I don't know if that will work for all films, but I do think kids' films is a way that this is an honest way to test this type of stuff out. So I'm curious, one, did you see this film in theaters? Did you see it at all? Two, did you see it in theaters? Three, did you see it on VOD? Or four, were you like me and waited till it finally came out on Disney Plus? This is a film that did all of the gamuts, and I'm curious to see if you've seen it what was your avenue of seeing it? So go ahead and leave your comments in the comments below. I thoroughly dug the film. It's not one of the greatest things at Pixar. I'll probably forget it in a couple of weeks, but in the moment, it was cute, charming, and I think if you have a young kid right now with probably have consumed so much stuff via Disney Plus and all this stuff, this is a good thing to add to it. But let me know what you guys thought. Leave the comments in the comments below. You can email us at hollywoodalreadydidit@gmail.com, or you can find me on Twitter. Find us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. We also have a podcast by the same name that is on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We are there. Last episode, because things are pushing, we discussed the original James Bond film, Dr. No, in place of No Time to Die. And then next week we'll be talking about Daniel Craig's first foray into Bond and Casino Royale. But you can find that anywhere that podcasts are played. We are doing that via remote, so some of the audio may not sound as quality as it used to when we were side by side. But that is all that I have for now. I do just want to leave these videos now with the thought of saying make sure you're checking in on your loved ones. Zoom calls are great. House party app, if you have any, you can play games with people. I just want to make sure that no one is at home. Everyone is by themselves as far as not being able to reach out. Yes, you should be quarantined. Yes, you should be staying at home, but you should also still be making that contact to people who love you and care about you, or that you care about and that you love. While we all are staying safe, we still need to, in social distancing, we don't need to social distance. 100%, if you get me. Take care, and see you guys next time. Later.